The Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things. Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. With me today is Laura Perez, otherwise known as L.E. Perez. Is it Ellie, or is that how you would say it? L.E.?
Yes, ma'am.
And someone said to me, well, Ellie Perez, and I was like, who's Ellie Perez? And I knew you always wrote L.E., but
Yes,
I never
At the
said it that
library-
fast.
Yeah, at the library they know me as Ellie.
Well, I love that. I assume E is your middle initial.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
So, Laura, give me your 60-second elevator pitch on who you are.
I am a Latina writer from the Bronx who writes a little bit of everything. Love stories, romance, fantasy, paranormal, thrillers. And my mantra is strong women, strong stories.
I like strong women. I like strong stories. And I like all of that. Tell me, what's been your favorite thing? My gosh, I got to start that one again. What has been your favorite thing to write?
Oh, wow. So far, I think my Reaper story has been one of my favorites. That was a paranormal romance. And I had to pick a paranormal creature. I picked a Reaper who decided that she was going to fall in love.
It sounds like quite an adventure.
It was. It turns out she's also the daughter of death. So she's not just any Reaper.
Ooh, not just any. I don't really know the mythology around the Reaper, so I'm not the best person to comment on that. However, it does sound intriguing.
It was a lot of fun to research, actually. I didn't realize how much Reaper lore there actually was. So I picked one avenue and I kind of went with that and I just built on it.
That's really cool. What are you working on right now?
Right now, I am working on 2 shorts, romance stories, one for my Thrill of the Heart anthology, releasing on Valentine's Day with 7 writers, and another one which is more of a fuller length, 20,000 to 30,000 word romance heirloom story.
A romance heirloom story?
Where there's an heirloom that's an integral part of the story itself. Mine is a pocket watch.
Is that a themed? Is that for an anthology as well?
Yes.
And the theme is the heirloom.
Yes, the theme is the heirloom.
I was gonna say I like how anthologies are able to create a thread and then sew all their works together.
Exactly. Plus, it also gives those authors who haven't had much exposure a little bit more exposure and allows them to piggyback off of other authors.
Does that help them with marketing as well?
It helps them with marketing and helps them with getting their name out, and it links them to well-known authors very often.
Well, that's the goal of all writers. Well, maybe not all writers, but most writers to become well-known.
Exactly.
Did you always want to be a writer?
I've always written. I don't know if I necessarily always wanted to be a writer. I always saw my mother as the writer, but I was always making up stories and fantasizing about different things. And I would write certain things down or just act them out with my friends when we were playing outside. But, it turns out I love writing, but I do other artwork stuff. So I paint, I craft, I knit, I sew. There's a lot going on in my head.
So you're one of these artistic people that can just take a shine to anything that's artistic.
No, I do a little bit of everything, and sometimes I answer the muse in whatever form she comes. So if I want to write, but my brain is saying, oh, let's paint this, I'm going to go paint that because I know that busying up my mind that way will free up my mind for my writing.
That's good. Is that how you handle writer's block?
Yes, that's exactly how I handle writer's block. Or as I like to say, chasing the squirrels.
Chasing the squirrels. You have to run out and
Yep.
hunt them
Run
down.
out and do whatever. Yes, and goodness forbid if I end up in a Michael's store.
Michael's. Yeah, that can be a dangerous place for crafters.
Oh yes. For writers too. They have lovely journals there.
They do, and beautiful pens.
Yes, they do.
Colored paper, all sorts of things you can get there. So I understand you do a lot of self-publishing.
I do. I'm an indie writer right now. I'm looking to branch out and be more of a hybrid writer, find myself an agent. I do have an agent who's interested in some of my work, but right now I self-publish. I don't do it through a vanity press. I do it myself. So I am the publisher, um, the publishing head, and I do all of the proofing, not all of the editing, I edit out, but the revisions, all of that. That's all under my umbrella.
And do you take on your own covers?
I do for some. For some, I will like purchase covers or seek out others to do covers. Usually, I have a decent idea of what I want, and I work well with cover artists because at least because I am visual anyway, I always have a visual. Sometimes I can put it together, sometimes I certainly cannot, and I won't even pretend to.
So how old were you? How old were you when you started writing?
Oh goodness, I first wrote my first story I think when I was 8 or 9. I had just discovered Nancy Drew, so I had to do my own Nancy Drew type story.
And then you stayed in that sort of genre, didn't you? Continuing
Yeah,
to write?
yeah. Well, I got my degree in criminal justice, so that was my background. Was victims and crime and the courts and all of that. So yeah, thrillers I love, mystery thrillers, crime thrillers, horror thrillers.
If you get writer's block, you do not go to your website to unclog
No,
yourself.
but sometimes if I get writer's block, what I'll do is I'll participate in some other kind of artwork or something else that calls to me, or I will pick up a book in the genre that I'm trying to write in, because that way
And
it'll spark some things too.
yeah, I find inspiration in just about everything I read. And it
Exactly. So
doesn't have to
I
be the
love
same
it.
genre.
Yeah, and even just people watching, going to the parks. We live in Florida, so going to Universal, going to Disney, you get to see different things, hear different people, fantasize about different things. Like I have this whole plot that happens right there at the center, right in front of the castle at the Magic Kingdom.
Well, that would be a fun one to write.
Oh,
I could see.
it's written in a bunch of little notes on my phone, like
Oh,
in pieces.
you're a phone writer. Do you
Yes,
do you
I'm very much a
type
phone
it or do
writer.
you talk it? Do you
Both.
type it? You do both?
The Yes, unfortunately, the benefit to writing it, typing it myself, is I know exactly what I said. The downfall of dictating is unless I enunciate, it will translate in a very odd way. And then when I look at it later, I go, what the heck was I trying to say?
Yeah, that's that autocorrect thing, except for it's worse. So what type of advice would you give someone who's just starting out?
Oh my goodness. Attend as many workshops as you can and network, network, network. There are a lot of free workshops available in whatever state you live in, um, usually through the libraries. Check out your local libraries. Look for any writing groups, any statewide or regional writing groups that there are. Usually they put on workshops. But that was the best thing I could have ever done. Being here in Orange County in Florida, the library system here was very, very welcoming. And they had different programs going on all the time. And now I'm one of the ones that does those programs. So it's kind of come full circle for me. But those programs are the best thing because you're going to hear from actual authors. You'll hear from what they've done right to what they've done wrong. What they wish they had changed, and what they did change, and what successes they've had. So it really is surrounding yourself with that group of people that can support you. And sometimes that's leaving your home, leaving the comfort of your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, your parents, because they're always going to comfort you. They're always going to support you, but you need to find a bigger family. You need your writing tribe.
How has your writing evolved from when you were itty bitty starting out to now?
Oh
And
goodness.
we can jump ahead. We don't have to go back to teenage years, but once you decided to really put words to paper to share with others.
Wow. I guess my stories always end up being about overcoming something. The main character, just like in most stories, they're always overcoming something. But because mine are always women, there are different things they might be trying to break free of, either personal inhibitions or, you know, workplace triumphs or romantic triumphs. They're always trying to overcome something, face something that they wouldn't normally have done.
I like heroines like that.
Yeah, because mine are by no means perfect, in no way, shape, or form. I don't believe, and mind you, I am a 40-year reader of of Harlequin. Harlequin, yes, that's my guilty pleasure, Harlequin intrigues. But but there's no perfect heroine, there's no perfect hero, there's no, they all have flaws, just like the rest of us. And so it's how you present those flaws, though, that either make them likable or unlikable. And you have to decide when you're writing it, how do you want your character to portray?
That's very interesting information, and it's good advice for all of our listeners. I am going to move to our rapid fire
Uh-oh.
questions. I'm going to ask you
Okay.
3 questions. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
What time of day do you like to wake up?
8 o'clock.
In the morning, I assume?
In the morning, yes.
Do you wake up automatically or do you have to set the alarm?
No, automatically.
I love when that happens. It makes life easy.
Oh, yes.
All right. What is the one thing, if you could do right now, would you do?
Oh, goodness. The one thing, if I could do right now,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably take my wife down to Key Largo area so that we can visit Ernest Hemingway's house.
Ooh, that would be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a Hemingway fan?
I am a Hemingway fan, and knowing that he was in Florida, I want to go down there, and I haven't yet gone down there. So it's one of those bucket list things for me.
And what is the weirdest thing you've ever done legally?
What? The weirdest thing I've ever done legally?
Well,
Oh,
I don't want that could spin off somewhere.
Yeah. But no, the weirdest thing I've ever done. Oh my goodness. I do a lot of weird things. You can ask people. I've practiced my martial arts forms at Disney World when I was on vacation, knowing I had to come back and test.
Oh, were you like right out in the middle of?
Yes, right out in the middle of the street. Yeah. Or if I was waiting online, I was practicing. Yes, it was very embarrassing for all involved.
All right, Laura, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for listening to the Florida Writer Podcast. Allison out. L.E. lives in Orlando, Florida with her partner in life of over 29 years and works full-time as a martial arts instructor, as well as running Palmas Publishing. As an indie writer, her philosophy is to be able to pay it forward, and she hopes to assist other writers in achieving their publishing goals. She just has to avoid squirrels. Laura is a member of the Florida Writers Association, Sisters in Crime, and Romance Writers of America. Visit LE on the web at www.leperez.com or www.palmaspress.com. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us on the web at www.floridawriters.net.